Identity theft is a growing crime that still affects so many people, even if you weren't affected by this latest breach. Here to discuss some ways to prevent this crime from happening to you is Dr. Audrey Gussie from Duquesne University. Consumer Tuesdays, we call it around here. Good morning to you, Audrey.
Good morning, John.
What exactly is identity theft?
Well, identity theft can range from several different things. It could be simply stealing your credit card, stealing your credit card applications out of your mail, or, oops, hold on one second.
Okay, we are talking about that identity theft right there as we're having some audio difficulties for a second, but let's go back to Audrey right now. But let's talk about just how prevalent identity theft is today. Because you certainly hear a lot about it. In fact, certain services on the market out already, you talk about the identity theft shields and people getting many ways to try to protect consumers against this growing crime.
Well, exactly, and it's very, very difficult. And my advice to consumers is always shred and freeze. You need to shred everything that comes into your household. There's lots of those credit card applications, personal types of things, information with any kind of numbers or statistics or anything that's going to be related to you. Also, you want to freeze things. A beautiful thing to do is only for $10 a year, you can go into any of the credit card agencies and have them freeze your account. What ends up happening then is no one could create a new credit card. I think that's the biggest advice you can give consumers. Also, they need to be really, really cautious, be very alert, constantly check your credit card ratings, check everything. You have to really keep your eyes open, check the credit card statements that you get every month. That's a big thing you want to do. Also, you want to be very cautious as far as when you get your checks, maybe don't put your name on it, just put your initials so someone can't steal your checks and then sign your names. You may also want on the back of your credit cards to write photo ID required, so that way when someone's using your credit card, it's only you because they're going to be asking for a photo ID.
And there are actually services on the market today that can monitor if you become a victim of identity theft. Is that the case?
Right, there is. Oh, well, there's insurance you can buy. I usually don't recommend it because you have to be very, very careful. A lot of times there's a limit, there's a cap to it, and you want to make sure if you get the identity theft insurance that it's going to cover your loss for any kind of employment or hours. The average person who has their credit identity stolen ends up costing them $1,200 and 60 hours. And so that's a significant amount of people's time and efforts. So if you're going to get that, you want to make sure you're covered on that. But you also want to check the credit status, the credit reporting companies. There's 3 of them. Equifax is one of them. You also have Experian and TransUnion.
Definitely. Tell me, if you suspect that someone has stolen your identity, what is a person to do? Who should they call? Where do they start?
Well, you really want to call the police immediately in that jurisdiction. You also want to call the credit card companies. And John, what you really want to do is make sure you have photo ID'd everything in your wallet so that way you have the phone numbers handy and you have the credit card numbers at your fingertips. The reason for that is the quicker you can put a freeze on your accounts, the sooner that you can actually hopefully stop people from using your credits and you know, racking up the bills to a point where you may be responsible for $1,200 or more dollars.
And on some forms of ID, Audrey, I know they ask if you want to list your Social Security number. Is this a good idea?
No, you would never want to give Social Security number unless you absolutely have to. That's the key thing. And in the past, what used to happen is you would use, universities would use Social Security for IDs and medical cards. They're now stopping that. You really want to guard as much as you possibly can your credit card and your Social Security numbers.
We want to keep these tips up for you. Don't give your Social Security number out. Can you go over these just a real quick shred, all documents?
Right.
Yeah.
You don't want to give out your Social Security number. You want to make sure that you're shredding everything. You want to limit the number of credit cards that you have, because if you have too many in there, then you can't keep track of it. And if they're unused, you may not be using them, but a criminal may be using them. Also, you want to be very careful in selecting your passwords. You don't want to use anybody's name or birthdays or anything that a thief can actually track down. So you want to be somewhat clever. You want to use numbers. You want to use different types of symbols. And you also want to, as I said, get a copy of your credit card report annually.
Dr. Audrey Gussie, we are out of time this Tuesday. We'll see you back next week.
Thanks, John. Look forward to it.
All right, and finally this morning,